Hello, every morning and good morning. I'm Tim Charlton. I'm the publisher of QSR Media and joined here today for our customer experience webinar. Please welcome Addison Valle. Addison, if you can unmute your mic and say hello to everybody.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
We have Vineet Sharma, the Chief Operations Officer of Pizza Hut, Asia Pacific.
Hello, everybody.
We have Yan Ming Ong, the Vice President, Asia Pacific, Middle East and the Black Sea Basin, a part of the world I've never been to. I'm interested to go for Texas Chicken.
Hi everyone.
And Ben Wong, the VP of Business Development, APAC for Adyen.
Hi everybody.
So I'd like to firstly thank Adyen very much for making today's webinar possible, and we can learn from some of the leaders in the industry what they're doing on customer experience, and we can also hear from Euromonitor International on their view as to where things are going. So it's a very interesting time right now, and I know that food remains central to what everybody does. So that's good, and I think a lot of positive news to get through today. So what I'm going to do is each one of our participants will be doing their presentation, and then at the end we're going to bring everybody back in for a group panel discussion. And for all of the participants in the webinar, you can ask your Q&As down the bottom in the Q&A box, which is available. So without much further ado, let me please hand back over to Addison Valle, the Country Manager of Euromonitor International in Singapore. Addison, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. This is Gilson. Thank you, Tim, for inviting us for this really interesting webinar. Unfortunately, we can't see face-to-face this time, but hopefully very soon we will all be together. Today, we are going to cover a little bit of some of the trends that we are seeing at a global level and how that's affecting the QSR industry. Some of that comes from industries like fashion and retail. So you'll see throughout my presentations some of that. I started my career with Euromonitor in London, moved into Hong Kong to start up our operations in Hong Kong. And now I have been for the last 6 months working out of our Singapore office and managing our 6 offices in Asia Pac. Let me just make sure that you all can see my slides. Yes, so we are going to be covering today how smart innovations are transforming not only the retail and how that's cascading down to the food service landscape. A little bit on us, on Euromonitor. For some reason, yeah, we are, if we can, let me see if I can go back one slide. We are a market research agency with over 4 decades of experience researching over 30 industries globally with more than 1,200 analysts based in 100 countries. So we can really give you, we can help you to make sense of global markets. Today we will cover the state of industries in general, especially retail and food service, and then we will share with you some interesting examples that we are seeing in hybrid channels in the food service industry, and also the rise of experience more. And then towards the end of the presentation, I will share some examples as well of how third-party players and virtual restaurants are helping to accelerate new concepts in food service retailing. And then we will look into the main conclusions and what business should be doing to help them to tackle some of these opportunities in the marketplace. So just a little bit on the industry. Overall information about retail in general, you see that sales online are expected to grow in the next 5 years at 8 times faster than anything that we buy on a store. So it's a huge growth there, really. And 47% of all connected consumers, they tell us in some of the research we do that they want to try before they buy. So what we hear out there in terms of the growth of online channels, we should all remember that despite all the headlines about consumers shifting towards online channels, there is still a very important role for physical branches, because people still need to go and try and experience at physical branches. All of this is being powered by a lot of drivers globally. As you can see there, population, changing consumer values, shifting economic power, environmental shifts. But the main driver and accelerator for that is technology, has been technology. We do also ask the industry, what do they believe is the most important development in terms of commerce for the next 12 months? And we run that with leaders across a lot of different industries. And you will see here that the #1 reason is improving customer journey and user experience. So the so famous CX, consumer experience, it's really important. We see that most of the disruptors in different industries nowadays, what they have done is that they have put consumers at the center of all the processes and anything that they develop. And that's becoming increasingly important, and most players are looking into that. We do also ask consumers, what is important when they are shopping, and from our consumer survey, you will see that, the whole digital play in commerce is important. There are some major shifts in consumer values, but the most important one that we see in our research is experience more. And you will see that there's even more true in emerging markets. So people, they need to shop for experience, not only goods, but for experiences as well. That has been happening in retailing, and it is happening more and more in food service. And we will be seeing some of the examples of that later on. Convenience is taken more and more for granted. People, anything they do in terms of shopping, they want convenience. It has to be easy. People have a fast-paced life, and they need to be able, in terms of multiple channels, from online to offline to brick and mortar, they need to have an experience that is very convenient and easy for them to shop anything out of impulse. But more and more, what is becoming important is what we are seeing that drive is that people, there are four main factors reshaping retail, consumer food service, and they are seamless, immediacy, experience, and individualism. So what we are going to see now is that shift on how do we create a space that is not only a convenience store or a convenient place for shopping, but also an experiential center. We talked about some of the trends that are affecting the industry. I mentioned already, growth in emerging markets or growth of the middle class, some consumer preferences, the digital technology. So they are all very significant trends in our forecasts when we are running forecasts for the consumer food service industry. But one main difference here in consumer food service as well is health-conscious consumerism. And that tends to be even more important in situations like the one that we are living now. This is previous research that we did in 2018. You will see here that the industry is telling us that some of the consumer trends that are impacting their product and equipment supply in the next 5 years. #1 is natural ingredients, clean menus. The whole healthy diet comes next, if you see there, and then also sustainability in terms of waste reduction. And some very, very first-hand research I have seen lately is saying that, and that research was done here in Asia as well, that across Asia, customers, they appear to care more about in-store safety. They prefer healthy, locally sourced offering that they did before COVID-19. So some of these trends that we were seeing before, they are being accelerated during COVID-19. And one of them is food safety and healthy and locally sourced ingredients. So what does that mean in terms of some of the examples we are seeing globally? In the food channel, we are seeing a lot of interesting examples of hybrid channels, and also channels that take into consideration that rise of the experience more trend. So a couple of really interesting examples here that we got from our analysts, in-country analysts globally. On your right side, you will see the concept from the famous, well-known brand Carrefour. That's a concept they tried in Italy. So apart from having their convenience Carrefour Express shop, at the same shop they will have also a fast food service. So it's a mix of food retailer and supermarket. So really hybrid channel there. And then we have a hybrid in terms of in-store and virtual experience. ICA Spar, another supermarket chain from Sweden, on your left side. They have launched an app to help consumers track their food expenditure. And that will take into consideration all sorts of costs when you're preparing food. So basically what the app is trying to show people when they are tracking their food consumption in terms of how much they spend, they are trying to promote grocery shopping, because people on the same app, they will be able to track not only what they are shopping on groceries, but the expenditure in restaurants, delivery, and takeaways as well. So what the supermarket chain is trying to show consumers is that if you buy the ingredients in a supermarket and you prepare at home, you might be saving. There are some other interesting concepts, and some of those we have been seeing for a while now, like the Koramangala Social in India. That's in terms of a mixed hybrid channel. It's a mix of coffee, leisure, and workplace. It's one of these co-working spaces where people also go for leisure activities, and then you have bar and coffee service. People pay for a membership, and the membership is going to include all sorts of different services, not only the co-working space. A more interesting example that we are seeing in Japan now on your right side, it's a format where you mix a well-known coffee brand with a well-known toys and game brand in Japan. So at the same store, you will have the coffee shop and a play area provided by the toy store retailer. And then we talked about Experience More. In terms of Experience More, we have a lot of different examples. I took two of them here in the region. One is from Singapore. It's a concept that is mixing the experience of music with hawker centers. So you will see that people can choose in their app the whole experience of mixing preferred music with eating out. You have examples from Japan as well here, and that format of from Tree by Naked, where you use multi-sensorial experience. So people during the dining experience, they will have also sounds and images and digital experiences that will amplify their sensorial experience. Sorry for that. And then if we look at experience, one of the main drivers for experience is technology. So again, we asked businesses around the world which other technologies are going to impact their business, and they say the top three are artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and robotics. And we see some of examples of that happening already in consumer food service. Haidilao in China, for instance, completely autonomous from preparation of food by robots to that being served to consumers as well by robots. You have the example of Beat in Korea, where coffee is being served and prepared by robots, and all the payment happens in mobile apps, and all the consumer preference can be taken into consideration when they are ordering, and the robot will take that and prepare that accordingly. We have other interesting examples like this new one from Hema. It's a supermarket chain in China, but they have launched this concept that there's a dining experience as well. So it's a mix of technology and dining experience, where people, they have two floors. On the retail floor downstairs, they are going to pick the fresh ingredients. That's being sent by a conveyor belt to the second floor where the restaurant is, and then cooks are preparing the meal accordingly. So anything that we do in terms of the process is what I mentioned earlier. We should take consumers at the center of that, and we should be engaging with consumers prior to the, once they are starting the journey, with brand promotion, engaging with them on social media, during, by using new ways and smart ways of convenience, from payment to the way we are serving them at their tables or when we deliver, and after, in terms of loyalty programs. And loyalty is crucial, because since consumers that they are looking for new experience, they usually tend not to be that loyal. So that's a big change, and that's something the companies have to be working quite heavily with the data they are gathering. I have some examples here as well. This one is from retail in Chile, where it helps you to build loyalty with customers, because that's once people check into a branch or they enter a restaurant via facial recognition, you know who that customer is, what they have bought last time they have you know, bought anything with you, both online or in stores. So that helps you to give a personalized service to the customer, and that's being translated to retail already. We see that as part of loyalty and reward programs like Luisa Black Card in Taiwan. So it's a chat box using artificial intelligence, real time, where you're building loyalty and chatting with your consumers. And the more they interact with the brand online, the more they receive points to exchange that for discounts. Another interesting concept, online concept, is Thrift Me from Slovakia, where they are bringing together all independent chains, food service chains, into one platform where people can also get points for a loyalty program that they can exchange into reward and into discounts with any of the 150 independent restaurants that are there. So what does that mean going forward in terms of, you know, 30 players and virtual restaurants? Virtual restaurants, they have been already seen for the last couple of years. You can see here that from the growth that we are expecting in home delivery, even though eating, as I mentioned earlier, is extremely important, it will continue to be, especially for experience. Home delivery has been set to grow at an 8% CAGR, much higher than any other types of channels. And that's helping us to see the rise of virtual restaurants. Two models, the models, you know, you have from virtual to ghost restaurants where you are managing your own process from food preparation to delivery, and then you have the model 2 that you're using some of the delivery aggregators where you are going to prepare everything in a virtual ghost kitchen, and then the delivery and technology part is handled by a third party. And we are seeing also now some interesting experience that, apart from everything that is related into virtual and ghost kitchens, we see some players going now back into brick and mortar. So Deliveroo, takeaway in Hong Kong, they also have in one of the busy neighborhoods in Hong Kong their own brick and mortar shop where people can come and pick up and take away the food. And you have examples like this one from San Francisco in the USA. They started completely as a virtual kitchen, Nigerian restaurant, and it became so popular that they had then to start with pop-up experiences in different markets. So you will see some of that hybrid virtual and online. So what does that mean for us going forward? I think the three main findings we've seen is that there is a bit of a fatigue on the way the business models are being run. It's important for business to take consumers as center of the consumer experience cycle, so that you develop concepts and processes that take that into consideration. That will be accelerated and helped by programs powered by fintech. So it's very important that some chains they are also working together with the financial markets, so you can bring some of this startup experiences and also technology to help you gather enough data about consumers. So you can develop process according to that data that you are receiving from consumers, especially now that they are not that loyal and they are, working across a lot of different platforms and providers. And then also by understanding that, that information and the data you get from consumers, what would be the power of one person? So consumers, they want to be seen as not a mass group of people, but as a single consumer that has its own preferences, and we need to take that into consideration. And only technology is going to help us to understand what each different individual consumers and the touch points that are needed to serve that individual consumer. Thank you very much. All of that will be part of our experience more, and also other mega trends that we are seeing globally, like health living, ethical living, middle class retreat, connected consumer premiumization, and shopping reinvented. And if you need some more information on some of those mega trends, you can definitely contact us after the webinar. Thank you, everyone.
Great, thank you very much, Adelson. A very good presentation, and thank you for that. We'll have you back a little bit later, obviously, in the Q&A. Okay, So now I'd like to invite our next speaker, Vineet Sharma, into the room. Vineet, how are you today?
Hey, Tim. Very well. I'm doing great, and I hope the same for you.
Very good. Okay, so Vineet is going to be talking about CX in the time of COVID. So we'll let you get on with it. Thank you, Vineet.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Tim, and thanks for having us over here. A very interesting presentation from Mike Gilson, and I think the one word which stuck with me throughout the presentation was about consumers giving the importance to easy. And I think we see that in our industry as well, that it's a very, very key tenet to work on. So I'm just going to quickly take you through some of the perspectives which we are seeing with the COVID situation and how we see the world changing post that. Perfect. So I work for Yum Brands, and I was going through the participants. I noticed we have some of our colleagues who are attending and who dialed in as well. Some from KFC and Pizza Hut as well. So welcome on board. So Yum Brands, it's a huge organization. We've got roughly 50,000 stores across the whole world in 150 countries. It is the world's largest restaurant company. Most consumers know us better by our brands, and we are happy that way. We've got three big iconic brands, KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell. Some of you might find this new, but we've added a fourth brand to our portfolio, which is the Habit Burger and Grill. It is relatively a much smaller brand. This acquisition happened last month, so they've got 300 odd stores, primarily in Southern California, but some stores in China as well. But for the sake of our discussion today, I'm going to focus more on Pizza Hut. Now, globally, out of the 50,000 stores, 18,000 are from Pizza Hut. We are present in around 100 countries across the world. But if we dial down to more in our region, in Asia Pacific, based out of our office in Singapore, we support around 21 countries in the Asia Pacific region, right from Mongolia up north and going all the way to New Zealand down south. And we've got 5,700 restaurants. Now, why am I sharing all these numbers with you? Because as an operator, it becomes extremely difficult if you have a large scale, and then if you have to deliver consistent operations across all these stores. So these numbers are big, but they also bring about a challenge that how do you manage customer experience in such a vast system. So like most other companies, our mantra on the Pizza Hut side is how do we offer a very easy, trusted, and consistent experience to all our consumers? And we've worked around this framework of EFT, and those are the letters in the red font over there. It's easiest, fastest, and tastiest. So in our experience, we've figured out that you need to make the experience of the consumer as easy as possible. And when I say easy, it is not only pertaining to the consumer. It is certainly for the consumer, because when they want to access the brand, it should be a very easy experience. Now, whether it is on your own digital platform, on your website, wherever they want to access the platform from, it should be easy for the team member as well. For each and every team member working in the restaurant, how do we make their experience easy? The second thing is fastest. Now, speed is important in our business, especially in the home meal segment. And again, you saw it in the presentation from Euromonitor, that home meal replacement is a big channel where they see a lot of growth coming in. And when it comes to home meal replacement, the one word which comes to my mind is convenience. And in today's fast-paced world, everybody wants their pizzas delivered fast. They want the food to be quick. So fast as a category is extremely important. And thirdly, and not the least, we are in the food business. So the food better be tasty, it has to be delicious, it has to be made from the freshest ingredients and all those tenets. Now, keeping that in mind, out of the 5,700 restaurants that we operate, obviously the focus has always been that we make sure that we have a very good delivery fleet. We make sure that when customers place an order with us, we are able to deliver it on time. Sorry. And the second element is to make sure that tastiest food is being delivered. So if I was to rewind maybe 2 months back, the two areas which I would always ask all the operators across the region to focus would be on speed and taste. That what are we doing around building efficiencies around this thing? And lo and behold, then came COVID, right? So when COVID came, I think all organizations had to quickly think and react and figure out what is the best way of reacting to a situation like this. And I can tell you, no amount of preparation can actually prepare you for something unprecedented as COVID-19. So within Asia Pacific, we actually came across with this framework, which we call the 4C framework. And we took a lot of learnings from China because China was the first country where it all started. So we reached out to them and understood what worked for them. How did the best companies over there react? And the first C is about caring for your employees. I think that is front and center. That is the first thing to look after. How do you make sure that your team members are feeling safe in this kind of an environment? Now, whether it is a simple thing of providing masks to them, making sure sanitizers are available in the restaurant, or in some cases, maybe even putting shields at the cash counter so that there is some kind of physical separation between the customer and the team member. And generally looking out after their well-being. Team members are the topmost thing on their mind would be that what is the organization going to do in case something happens to me? So allaying all those fears that the organization is behind you, we take very pride in supporting your requirements at this stage. So going after the people or the employees is the first thing. The second was caring for your customers. And today something which has become so folklore or common language is contactless, right? But it doesn't take a genius to find out that this initiative actually came out of the Yum China system. So our huge system over there, when they were reacting to this in the beginning, they came up with this contactless idea, and we were very quick to adapt, and so was the entire industry. And I think that is just the right thing to do. How do you make sure that the customer feels safe when they access your brand? The third is about caring for the business. How do you, at the end of it, we all run a business, and we are accountable towards the business, towards the stakeholders. So how do you protect your business in times like these? Whether it means offering a value campaign, whether it means offering individual meals which are not shareable, because in times like these, maybe people don't want to share food. So how do you protect your business, and how do you come up with a marketing strategy to support that? And the fourth C was caring for the community, because in times like this, the medical professionals, the hospital staff, the clinicians, and all that. So we need to make sure that in times of crisis, brands or organizations stand together and support the community, or if there are underprivileged people who need support. So how do you put this whole thing together? So in my experience, this has worked very well for us, or I should rather say this is working very well, because we're still in the midst of a lot of these things going on. And by doing all these things, we feel that we can maybe make sure that we stay the most trusted and loved brand in the markets that we operate. Now, what we are seeing in markets which are on the recovery phase, and we've noticed within our region that markets like China, Japan, Korea, New Zealand, Australia, all these markets are seeing a drop in the number of cases, and I would say they are more on the recovery phase over here. We feel that trust and safety are going to be paramount in the consumer's mind. And like I touched on earlier, taste and speed are very much important, but the top of mind thing which will be on consumers' mind is going to be trust on the brand. And if you can see on this on the slide, there are various elements of which convey that the brand can be trusted. So sometimes it can even go to a simple thing like putting a sealed sticker on the box that the food has not been tampered with, or the box has not been opened from the time it left the kitchen and it has reached the customer's doorsteps. So again, small examples, but they go a long way in conveying that. we've also tried to leverage whatever technology we have in trying to give a more trusted experience to the consumers. And what I mean by saying that is that every organization has their customer satisfaction scores or checking whether consumers are happy. We've intentionally added a question around health and safety in that, whether consumers rate us highly on the element of cleanliness, sanitation, health. And we've seen a direct correlation, almost a 10x to 11x, between consumers who perceive the brand to be trustworthy and have enough initiatives around safety to overall satisfaction. If customers see that, then they are more likely to give you a satisfied score. So I think those are some of the ways how we are managing this situation. And I know it was a short period, so I'll be happy to take any questions when we have the panel session. But with that, I'll hand it back to you, Tim. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you very much, Vineet. Very interesting to see that, safety and trust is now paramount. But of course, we can understand that. Be interesting to see how that changes, obviously, when everybody forgets about this in 2 or 3 years' time. But I suspect that maybe they won't. And this is a new thing that all brands need to consider. Now, moving to our next panelist, and I understand from our discussions earlier that you were both former colleagues. Please welcome Yan Ming Ong. Yan Ming, how are you?
Hi, Tim. I'm good. Thank you.
Good. And you're going to be talking to us about the brand story of Texas Chicken.
Yep, that's right.
Wonderful. All right, we'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, well, good morning, everyone. It's great to be with you today. It's good to meet new people and also reconnect with some old colleagues. Wonderful. So before I start, a quick introduction. I'm based in Singapore. I manage the Texas Chicken business in Asia and the Middle East. And as the name suggests, we're a quick service restaurant that sells fried chicken. We pride ourselves on good, big, fresh, juicy product and also a signature honey butter biscuits. In this region, we have over 300 restaurants, and globally, we have close to 2,000 restaurants. Okay, on the next page. So the company actually operates with 2 brands. So in the Americas, we are known as Church's Chicken. The reason for that is we were founded by a gentleman named George Church, and hence that's the name that we use in both North and South America. But everything outside the Americas, so that would be Asia, the Middle East, the Black Sea Basin, we are known as Texas Chicken. So today's session is about the customer experience, and this covers many things. Right? It can be about the food, the service, the technology, restaurant design, ambience, etc. In the next 8 pages that I have here, I will talk about the restaurant design and how we use this to tell our brand story and create a unique customer experience. And I think one thing that Algilson mentioned earlier, people still want to experience something physical. But what we cannot deny is there's a trend towards convenience. I think with COVID, there's also a lot of emphasis towards contactless social distancing, etc. But one thing I think we can all be confident of is in the post-COVID world, there will still be a place for restaurants. And even more so, I think these are venues that people will want to see as places to gather socially, to celebrate, to do something that's memorable. So I think one thing which is also important for us as Texas Chicken, we are a relatively new brand in a lot of countries. So the company has been around since the 1950s, but we are new in many markets that we operate in today outside the Americas. So last year, we actually embarked on a brand transformation project with the aim to create a much stronger brand identity, especially in some of our newer markets such as Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, where we actually only entered in the last 5 years and have had very rapid growth. Part of this involved a change to our logo and restaurant design, but there were other components as well, obviously around the brand identity, packaging, social media, tone of voice, etc. But in this presentation, I'll just talk about the restaurant design and how that evolved as part of this brand transformation. So on the next page, so here's a little bit about the character of Texas Chicken. So as part of this brand transformation work, we went about to inspect what our character really is, right? And on this page, you'll see 4 attributes. First one being bold. So this is something that we pride ourselves on, about pushing boundaries. As the newcomer brand, sometimes you need to be more straight shooting. You need to be more candid, unreserved as well, something which is fun. We also pride ourselves on being wholehearted, so about being sincere, about caring, etc., and also being unwavering, right? So the pride in those Texas roots are very, very important. So what this means on the next page, this obviously needs to translate to the Texas way, right? And the Texas way really is what we want everyone who connects with our brand and our restaurants to feel, right? Whether it's team members or suppliers or customers. We are really about, well, number 1, about the handcrafted legendary meals. Number 2, about the taste that makes you want to crave and come back for more. And number 3, the memorable experiences. Right? And I think the store design and experience is really part of this 3rd pillar here, which is around these memorable experiences. Okay, on the next page. So in order to communicate our brand identity, we came up with a set of icons to tell this story. And on this page, you see 3 words and 3 icons, right? So bold, Texas, flavor. And each of these icons represent something which is core to the brand, right? So the chili represents bold. It's about how our food is. And it's not just about being spicy, but it's about being creative. So creative new products, flavors, innovation. The star, this comes from the flag of Texas and signals obviously the heritage that we have. And the 3rd icon is the chicken, and that's all about the flavor and the freshness in the brand. So these icons are used on all the various touch points that we have. And I'll show you some photos of our restaurants later. But if you go to a Texas chicken restaurant, you see that this is on the packaging, it's on social media, etc. On this page, you see one last icon, which is really a consolidation of the 3 icons in the previous page. This is what we call HAL. So HAL is short for jalapeno. So the jalapeno pepper is a core ingredient in a lot of Texan cooking. And it's also one of the core ingredients in our chicken. So this is the icon which really tells that story around the bold Texas flavor, what it stands for. And this is something that we want to be remembered for. Okay, the next page. So the next couple of pages, I have examples from the restaurants. So here you see the restaurant artwork. Again, the intention is, as a new brand, to really communicate very key and strong attributes around what the brand stands for. Right? So you see on the left, for example, we talk about the freshness and how we prepare in small batches. Next to it, you see the star stamp of quality. So as Vineet mentioned, I think in these COVID times, there's even a more heightened sense of food safety, and etc. So that's something that is really, really important. Okay, this page here, you see the restaurant exteriors. So these are some restaurants that were built over the last couple of months in various countries in Asia. You'll see the new signage, of course, but also the HAL icon, which is displayed prominently on the exterior, right, to tell and communicate that story. On the next page, we've got a set of photos of the interior. So if you notice, again, it's the same icons, the star, the pepper, and the chili. And then with some text underneath, we describe really what these represent. And these are taken from a restaurant in Dubai. So this is on the ground floor. So as you enter, you're meant to see all these different key attributes. On the next page, you see actually the main dining hall of a restaurant. And you notice the artwork that I had on the previous page. So again, talking about those attributes around the quality, the freshness, the ingredients. And you also see the 3 icons on the left topmost represented in a different way. But again, here, the key point is around the repetition, the ensuring that people identify recognize these as the key attributes for Texas Chicken. And that's really, I think, part of the evolution of the brand. Being somewhat newer to many markets, we need to build and to enforce this brand identity. And around this restaurant design, I think that's something we see as the key platform for really telling that story. So in closing, that's all I had to share today. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at our new restaurant designs and seeing how we've tried to tell a bit of this brand story through these new restaurant designs. And we have plans for brand launches as well, which will include obviously these flagship restaurant designs, but also the other elements. Obviously, we're all looking forward to this COVID crisis starting to lift so that we can celebrate and have these launch events in all the different countries. With that, thank you very much. And I'll hand over to Tim.
Great, thanks very much, Yan Ming. I think it's very interesting using those icons. It's almost taking the UX from a website, isn't it? Where you have different icons and people now expect to see a pictogram almost of what something is rather than it's spelled out. I thought visually that's quite interesting. In a way, we've become a world of people that look at things through emojis and things. And do you have a feeling that's kind of the kind of design nomenclature that you've been using now?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's around, well, as Vinit said, about easy, right? And people expect easy in everything. So the simplicity of the communication is key, right? So
Yeah.
Definitely that's part of the design intent.
Yeah, it really looks very good. Great. Well, thank you very much. And now we're welcoming our final speaker for this morning. Of course, we'll have all of our speakers back to the panel after our final speaker. Please welcome Ben Wong from Adyen, who's made today's event possible. Ben, thank you very much for being here.
Hey, thanks, Tim. Happy to be here. Can I get the controls, please? Yeah. All right. Hi, everybody. So I'm Ben Wong from Adyen. Most of you guys probably wouldn't have heard about Adyen before, but if you've woken up to Spotify music this morning, you've watched Netflix last night, we probably touched your money before. But we're not here to talk about that. We hope that today, what I hope to achieve with this 10 minutes is to actually tell you a bit more about what payments can do for you in the quick service restaurant space. Let's kick off with a
so many options. Self-service kiosks, mobile payments, cards. How will you pay today? Because quick service deserves quick payments. Adyen. Everything is on the menu.
Right, that was just a quick video of what we think we can help you with in the quick service restaurant space. But just as a quick recap, some of the concepts you've seen, of course, you guys are already familiar with this. Self-service kiosk, the way allowing customers to pay with their preferred payment method. So in Singapore, of course, it's Visa, MasterCard. If you have the Chinese tourist, not now. You have Alipay, WeChat Pay, and if you can allow them to pay with whatever they want, on one single terminal, yeah, basically you've achieved a very seamless customer experience. Now, something that I do want to talk about is actually the customer recognition and the card linked to loyalty. So if you remember, actually, in the video, the lady actually inserted a card and she's automatically recognized as a loyalty customer. Now, then basically when you are able to recognize your customer, then you can do things like giving them an extra coffee or giving them some cashbacks and rewards. But the key point is to actually recognize that customer. Now, we'll go into a bit more of how we can actually do that just by using payments. So, but what we hope that we can help our merchants with is to create experiences that are convenient, very fast, easy, and frictionless. It's very personalized for the different shoppers, as well as to for them to actually control and interact on their own terms, whether they want to pay with their card or with their phone or with a QR code. a bit slow for me. Yeah. And we believe that we call this unified commerce, but actually the buzzword in the industry is actually omni-channel. To us, it's one and the same, but here we'll try to tell you a bit more about how you can actually use payments to actually achieve this omni-channel experience. So what is unified commerce, right? Unified commerce essentially is actually putting the consumer in the center of everything, whether it's from the discovery to the actual sale to after sales. If you can actually recognize that shopper, basically then you have achieved unified commerce, because then you can actually do the marketing for them. You can actually upsell them something else, okay? Or maybe even do a donation drive after they make payment. So essentially what we're trying to do is to help you turn your receipts. So if in the QR space, of course, that when you have your receipt, you're just keeping them for end-day recognition. But how can you use that receipt and recognize your customers based on those receipts? So what we do is, based on the payment card that they use to pay with, we can actually recognize the shopper and then basically tell you something like this. Okay, this is an actual example that we did with a QSR in Australia. So this guy, Tony, he's 27. Of course, we don't know he's 27 and he's male. We only know his payments. But that's where we work hand in hand with the merchant. So he has an app that they've developed, and he's keying in information like he's 27 and he's male, and other information that he has. Right? What we help to recognize is actually the payment. Now, before he actually downloaded the app on the 23rd of February, he's actually already made 10 payments in store. So we know this, right? But once he's downloaded the app and he's actually using payments on the app, now because of the infrastructure that we built to enable unified commerce, then we can recognize this shopper and actually tell you, okay, now he's done 38 payments. We think because he's probably bought one burger each time, this is equivalent to 38 burgers in Q1 of 2019. And you can actually recognize your shopper this way. So on top of that, you can actually you would want to see all your information on one single dashboard or an omni-channel report, if you will. Now, what do you want out of this dashboard? You actually want to know, well, did I increase the pie and get more unique shoppers? And actually, did I get more people like Tony who's actually coming back? But is he coming back and using the app, or is he coming back using in-store payments? Now, because of the single payment stack that we've built, you can actually recognize shoppers this way. So something else on top of the data, something else on top of that kind of data that we can give you is this is something that we did for another merchant in UK. They opened up the new store, and actually they're not even using us for e-commerce, but because we can actually recognize the payment card that's being used on the terminal, we can actually tell you, okay, we are actually seeing some of the customers that are coming from store 1, store 4, and store 3 coming into your new store. And basically from this, you can see whether your new store is actually growing your pie, or is it cannibalizing your existing stores as well. So this would help you with your store planning in the future. Now, something else that we touched on is the building of a loyalty card. And this is something that we do with Dunkin' in Netherlands, so pardon the Dutch. So first, the customer tokenizes his card on the app. Now, once he's done that, basically you have some information on him and you've linked his payment card. Now, the next time he comes to the in-store and he actually pays on the Dunkin' app, pays in-store. Now you can actually recognize him, that he's made a payment in-store, and you can push something to the app and give him the rewards that he's due. Right? So this helps you with your mobile engagement, customer loyalty, or giving points back to the customer. So how do we actually do this, right? You could say that, well, why is it that I'm not doing this with my bank today? We think it's because of this legacy stack that the payments industry has built. So typically you would always go to your bank to open a bank account, and your bank would ask you, okay, do you take payments? Do you take payments online? Now then you will need a gateway if you are going online, and you need to engage someone else for the risk management system. This is to combat fraud. But to us, this feels kind of like this, right? You're kind of being held back by the legacy, and when you're held back by technology like this, basically then you can't enable experiences that we've discussed so far, such as the customer loyalty and being able to pay seamlessly online. So for us, what we try to do is we've built a single stack from the gateway to the risk management system, as well as to the acquiring. And all this is basically to enable that seamless customer experience, but at the same time to unify not just online, but actually the in-store payments as well. So I'll end off with some examples of merchants that we've done. So I know Josh is actually online, so pardon me, Josh. But when I met Josh, or when we met Josh the first time, I think it was love at first sight for both, because he was asking all the right questions, and his key thing was how fast is your payment terminals and how fast can you improve my operations, right? So because for customers at UIG, imagine they're at the CBD, they don't want to wait like more than 5 minutes for their food. Now for them, what we did is, because the payment terminal is fast, but that's not the only reason, we probably shaved off only 4 seconds of the payments terminal. But all in all, because it's an integrated solution, his POS and our payment terminals are talking to each other. So there's no human error that someone has to manually key in the amount and actually make sure that the amount is correct, and then for the customer to make the payment. So all in all, this whole process, we've managed to shave 30 seconds off his operations. So these are his words, not mine. Now, something we did with Subway is on franchise. So I think Vineet mentioned something about consistent operations across the different stores as well as different markets, right? Then for Subway in the US, what we did is, because imagine Subway as a master franchise, they have so many different franchisees in so many different states and so many different cities. Now for them, what we did is we made it very easy for them to actually push out payment terminals to various franchisees, but at the same time, help them make the onboarding and the KYC process very easy. So if you remember the value chain that we have, so imagine all the different small franchisees going to their bank to actually take a payment terminal to sign on as a individual entity. So what we try to do with Subway is to actually take away this complexity and help Subway as well as their franchisees make the onboarding process as seamless as possible. And at the same time, allow the different franchisees to get almost the same level of insight as Subway, the main franchisee, will have through dashboards and a customer portal. And then finally, of course, if you follow our news, you'll see that we've done this with McDonald's for the mobile app, but not for Asia yet, right? This is we're starting out in the UK, and if you're thinking about building an app, of course, then there will be payments involved, and you want to make it as seamless as possible. So that Dunkin' example of tokenizing the card so that customers can pay easily the next time, or thinking about Apple Pay and Google Pay and very, very convenient wallet payments such as this. Now I'm going to end off with something that we've developed recently, and I feel in the current situation with COVID, this may be very useful. So what this payment pay by link does is basically, essentially it is a payment link. So if you click on this payment link, or if you scan this QR code, basically you'll be taken to a payment page where you can take payments or card payments, and I think there's GrabPay and a few other payment methods there as well for you to. So imagine you sending this payment link through WhatsApp, through email, through any channel, embed it in Insta Stories, be creative about it, right? And basically, and your customers can actually pay you securely using their card payments. Or you could just print out the QR code, put it on the delivery, and on delivery, then you can scan this, and the customer can make payments, so they don't have to take cash, or you don't have to take a payment terminal and bring it along with your delivery. So these are some of the ideas that we're helping with our merchants. So have a think about it. That's basically it. Thank you very much. If you want to find out more about what we are doing for the QSR space, you can scan this QR code or just click on the link if we are sending you this presentation after. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Ben. Very interesting presentation there, especially the way that you can find out more about who the customers are by the payment card that they use. Okay, can I please get all of the panelists back into the room? And while we're waiting, I'll just say that today we have 78 participants in total, coming from countries as far away as Singapore. Well, not far away if you are in Singapore, where I'm normally based, but I'm in Australia right now. Hong Kong, Malaysia, Philippines, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Indonesia, India. So it really is a very good cross-spread across the region, and companies including Jollibee Foods Corporation, KFC Singapore, Subway, Wendy's, Pizza Hut, Texas Chicken, of course, many more. So we've got a very good and very senior quality audience. Please feel free to ask Q&A questions. And if you want to address it to any particular speaker, just put question for whoever. Q&A is down the bottom of your screen. And you can do that. So I will start off with one for all of the panelists. What do you think are the emerging opportunities and priorities for customer experience right now and going forward? What's going to be different? Perhaps to start with you, Adjelson.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, it is paramount already, consumer experience. You need to, and we've seen in the last 5 years that most of the disruptors in the industry that have been very successful, what did they do differently? They did take consumers at the center of any ideas and process that they developed. Going forward, I think that's still going to be the trend. We are seeing already some quite interesting innovations in terms of taking consumers as the center of any process. Even with the COVID-19 situations, we have seen examples of chains like Jollibee in the Philippines that they are responding to the lockdown by introduce their frozen Jollibee chicken being sold at specific channels like Robinson supermarkets, so people can then finish and cook it at home. The same is happening with Hai Di Lao, the hot pot restaurant that I mentioned during my presentation. They are also selling almost ready-made ingredients and for people to prepare the hot pot at home. You have examples that actually we think is going to be a big trend globally going forward, and we are seeing some of that already in markets like China, is the live streaming of cooking. So we are seeing that now. We probably all have examples here of family members showing what they are cooking to you during this lockdown situation, friends cooking and sending you videos and pictures. But we have food service operators in China like Xibei and I don't know how to pronounce the other one, Yung Hai Yao, and they both are providing actually live streamings of their cooks teaching people how to prepare food. We've seen examples of that as well from some supermarket chains in Europe. So I think that going forward, people have identified that consumers, they like going out for special dining occasions, as some of our colleagues here during the presentation they mentioned. The whole dining experience is really important, and people will continue to do that, and they will do that, and they will splurge themselves when they go for a very interesting dining experience outdoors at one of their favorite restaurants. But people will want more and more to be cooking at home. And when they cook at home, they want to use well-known brands. They want to use well-known ingredients. They want healthy diets to be taken into consideration. So I think we'll be seeing that developing more and more.
certainly in Australia, a very well-known restaurant group, Merryvale, they have a Chinese restaurant, Mr. Wong's. Would you believe that people are actually going there, buying all of the ingredients, most of it's sort of semi-pre-prepared, taking it home and saying, look, I've made this fantastic Chinese meal at home. So I'm wondering if there's an opportunity for the QSR operators to extend in that in-between space between people taking away, will they come in and take away some ingredients and cook it at home? Yan Ming, your thoughts as to that, and also whether you think there's going to be some new changes for customer experience in the next 5 years.
Yeah. So I think one thing that won't change is people will still want to go out to eat. I think there will be a heightened sense of health and safety. So that's something that's here to stay. I think, as you mentioned, the way that people engage with brands, that's going to evolve. Right? So that was an interesting example from some of our markets in Southeast Asia. We noticed people were trying to recreate the Texas chicken honey butter biscuits. And there was actually a big thread on Instagram and TikTok, people trying to come up with the recipes. So there's definitely that nostalgia. People want to have that product. And the nice thing is that a lot of the responses were, okay, this is good, but I can't wait to be able to get this from a Texas chicken restaurant. So that's how I think people will be trying to increase the ways that they engage with the brand. And I think that's an opportunity as well. So in this case, in some countries, so for example, in Thailand, just this week, we actually had a live cooking show with some actors, Thai actors. And the challenge there was to use Texas chicken products, but to combine it with familiar foods that you enjoy eating at home. So things like that, I think we're starting to learn. But the key is people will want to feel that greater connection. And when they do go out to dine in your restaurants, it needs to be something special.
Vineet, some brands have actually been releasing their recipes online so that people can try and make it at home. I know you're for Pizza Hut, but do you think KFC would ever really release these secret 13 herbs and spices? Tell me, where do you think we're going with this sort of sharing of us restaurant out to customers? Where's that blurring?
Very, very interesting stories being shared. But I must say, Tim, the beard suits you. Huh? I just noticed on the screen versus the real. Okay. So I think whatever examples were shared right now, it's a current trend which we are seeing across the whole spectrum. And to your specific question, I think over the weekend I read a story or some YouTube video where this gentleman in Singapore, he takes KFC fried chicken and he's making a biryani out of it. And that was like a very viral, and everybody is watching and seeing that. So to your question, if you can't replicate the original chicken, people will buy that and use it as an ingredient and make something as an extension out of it. But to your original question, I think emerging opportunities which are going to come up post-COVID is that home meal replacement is certainly going to become more meaningful for brands who are not as much into it. So that is one. Secondly, I think squarely up Ben's alley would be digital payments, technology. How do consumers leverage that? Whichever process can be made frictionless, like this payment thing, if it can be made frictionless, people are certainly going to gravitate towards that. In my mind, I categorize most of these things as short-term, medium-term, long-term. In the short and medium, a lot of the examples which we are talking about are relevant. But I think in the long term, people will go back to dine-in restaurants, to hospitality. But that dine-in experience might be a little bit different than what we are used to. There would be some changes to it. So the industry is going to adapt and move forward, is what I feel.
Ben, your thoughts? Maybe from a payments perspective on where CX is going.
Yeah, I think even before COVID, like personally as a consumer, and because I'm in the payment space, I love making payments very easy. Like for example, even before COVID, I'm already using Foodpanda and Deliveroo, and because I'm lazy, I like these services, right? And if you make payments very easy for me, like with Google Pay, because I'm using an Android phone, it's just so easy for me to do it, right? Then when you're thinking about, okay, should I walk down to, because I live near Star Vista, okay, should I walk down to Texas Chicken, or should I just order Texas Chicken on Foodpanda? Then the answer is very easy. I'm going to do it on my phone. So basically, as long as you make it very easy for customers to get what they want, sometimes most customers don't even think about payments, right? Because I'm already tokenized my card on these platforms. It's a simple answer for me. Yeah.
All right, question for our two operators here, Yan Ming and Vineet. Two parts to the question. Firstly, what other channels are you using apart from home delivery? And second one, how has your digital strategy changed? Let's start with you, Yan Ming.
Yeah. So I think in terms of the channels available, I think that varies by country depending on the regulations. I think the key thing is for us the health and safety of customers and our team members, right? So we don't want to expose anyone to risk as much as we want people to have our great food, right? So in some countries we have drive-thrus, so those are obviously operating. Delivery is a big channel, so is takeaway. Just one example I want to highlight about delivery. I think there's a way that people appreciate a lot the effort that home delivery riders are putting in today. We've run in some countries a promotion or mechanic where when you place an order, part of that order is given to the delivery rider as an encouragement, as a motivation. And we find that something that people really like because it helps them to feel emotionally connected. It helps them to feel that they're also contributing to riders. So yes, delivery I think is the key channel these times, but how you serve the delivery, how you get customers to feel that they're also playing a part is important.
And changes to digital strategy.
Right. So with digitally, we've also been experimenting with different platforms. So in Singapore, we have a self-order kiosk across all the restaurants. We've also rolled out a mobile app in different countries. So that started in the Middle East, where we have a lot of in-house delivery and a call center. So I think all of these are important, but I think the trick moving forward is how we can pull it all together. And that payments and loyalty piece, I think is going to be even more important as people want to build that deeper engagement. Right. So loyalty, I think, is something that we'll be focusing on a lot more.
Vineet.
Sure. And I noticed the same question on the chat box. So obviously it is important. And I think when I say delivery, I don't mean only delivery as a channel. When I say home meal replacement, it includes takeaway as well. So customers might come to the shop and take away food. Now that can be either across the counter, you place an order, or that's an online order. I even feel that the food aggregators, they play in the similar segment, where either they are using their platform to generate the order and the customer actually comes to the shop to pick it up, or else they do an end-to-end fulfillment. So I see those guys becoming more and more prominent in something like this. A new channel which we've actually explored, and in the US we've rolled it out entirely, is curbside. So this is using all the technology when a customer places the order, and you don't need to actually step out of your car. When you drive to the restaurant, through the GPS technology, it can detect that the customer is reaching the store. You keep the food ready, you have the details, the team member steps outside. Typically, like in the US or in some other countries, you've got curbs, right? So curbside. So that is, I think, a new age thing which is coming out. And I'll quickly answer your question on technology as well. So I don't think we're changing paths at all. We are staying the course on whatever we had our digital strategy as. And around 2 to 3 years back, we had invested heavily in setting up a Pizza Hut digital ventures. So there is a separate organization with whatever 200-300 nerds sitting and working towards the digital strategy and the products which are going to be relevant. So we just feel that we've been on the right path, and we'll continue to improve and improve that. Because I feel when a crisis or a pandemic like this happens, this is going to change habits. Consumer habits don't change with normal change in behavior. When something like this happens, if you choose that you are going to become an online delivery customer, or you are going to use a food aggregator platform, chances are if you're happy with that platform, you'll stick around with that even the post-COVID thing. So those are my thoughts on that, Tim.
Yeah, quick question for both of you as well, very quickly to answer. We'll try and do fast questions because we've got about 5 minutes left. If so much is going to be takeout, drive-through, curbside, home delivery, cook at home, do you really have to spend so much CapEx on the in-store experience, or is that something that you can look at reducing?
So I think it's the strategy will evolve, and I think when we look at development, it's always a portfolio. I think there will always be a role for flagship restaurants where you want to showcase that full design and brand experience. And that's what customers are going to really hold your benchmark to. Right? But I think to complement that, and as we see a lot more delivery and takeout, you probably see a much larger proportion of delcos, smaller dining areas. And in fact, that's how we have also evolved in many countries as we move towards this greater push for convenience.
I think, Tim, my thoughts are, the short answer is yes, dine-in will stay relevant. But I think these are fulfilling different need states. To Yang Ming's point, if you're looking for convenience, you're looking for something on the go, then maybe delivery and takeaway is the way to go. But if you're looking for an experience, then you would want to go to a dine-in store, sit down over there, experience the bells and whistles. If you're taking your young kids out for an outing and a meal out, you would still want to go out to the restaurant and experience the whole brand in its sense. What it would change is maybe some people will rethink their strategy on, do I really need a 5,000 square feet dine-in store? Or can I make do with a 3,500, but also have channels which can augment the capacity when something like this happens in future?
Vineet, there's a specific question here. Pizza Hut had a very robust in-house delivery service. So we want to know, what is the split now between in-house and the outsourced partners?
I might not be able to give you the exact split, but I'll tell you that we still continue to have that robust delivery network. And during times like this, we are seeing huge uplift on that, which all the other players would also be doing. So in our mind, the strategy would be to protect your own turf, make sure that the experience which we offer on our organic delivery is the best in class. We are able to fulfill all that. But on the other side, I would say that it should be an outside-in perspective. So if the consumers want to access the brand via a food aggregator platform, then they should have the liberty of choosing that. And in that sense, we do actively participate or partner with the food aggregators in fulfilling that need state.
Adelson, quick question for you. One of the trends in your presentation was on health consciousness, and obviously that applies to the food, but do you think people are going to be looking at the whole experience differently going forward? Do you think, how's that going to play into the industry?
We've seen already some new research now during COVID, and people saying what they did prior to COVID and what they are doing now. And I think, as Vineet and Yang Ming said, some of those, they will change consumer behavior kind of, going forward. So definitely it was a trend that was building up, health and wellness, and then health conscious menus and meals. And I think is definitely here to stay. I mean, we see some of the menu choice being changed and offered by quick service restaurants. So pretty much all quick service restaurants, they are offering a healthier option in their menu. And we see as well from the type of food that people are streaming and sharing, that they are using local sourced ingredients. They are showing that it's healthier. So definitely, I think it's hand in hand with one of our mega trends globally that we identified, health living, that has started building up already 5 years ago, and that's again being accelerated during COVID. So I think it is going to be an essential part of anything that we source into supermarkets or that we use to prepare food both at home or in restaurants.
And Ben, I'll probably give the final word to you. Your views and thoughts about any emerging trends that you're seeing or things that customers are asking you that you think is kind of interesting.
For me, it's more like payments is the last thing that people think about. But what we kind of thought was interesting was the QR code that I shared at the end. That's the Pay by Link. So it's a very quick way for you. So if you don't have an e-commerce site, you don't have any sort of digital strategy, then this is a quick way for you to push your product out onto social media or onto the internet and basically help you take payments very quickly. So we've seen that, like I think someone mentioned something about live streaming. We've seen that in the luxury space where people are showcasing their products live. And well, then when you are showcasing your product, then you want some action after that, right, from your customers. So we want them to buy and pay. So that this is a way, very quick way for, say, someone in the luxury space to send this as a message, send this link to their portfolio of customers to say, okay, if you want this product, there's 10 of it, buy now.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. Well, very good. Thank our panelists very much. We have a good audience here, but I'm going to give a little clap. Very well done, everybody. One final comment I saw, Juliana has given the hashtag for KFC recipes. If you want to play around with your experimentation at home, thanks, Juliana. It's hashtag KFC recipes. I'll get the secret herbs and spices ingredient list later. Thank our panelists very much. A very good session. That wraps up today's program. It will be available for review later, everybody. And I want to thank you all again and see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks a lot, Tim.
Thank you.
A lot of talk about food is making me hungry now. I
Lunchtime.
never met Josh, but I must say I love the Guzman Gomez food, Josh. So if you're listening to it, great job.
I'll let him know.
Okay, thanks all.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, everybody.